Thank you, councillors. Thank you. So a warm welcome to you all this evening. Before we start the meeting, I've got a few housekeeping announcements. There is no planned fire drill today. Should the alarm sound, a member of staff will direct you to the nearest exit. Please could I ask that mobile phones are turned off or to silent mode and place them away from the microphones to avoid sound interference. And finally, when speaking, please ensure your microphone is turned on, and when you finish speaking, please turn your microphone off. Thank you. Are we streaming? In the film streaming? Yes. Thank you. Right, could I ask you all then to please stand for a minute's silence in memory of the late councillor Stan Avison, who sadly passed away last month. Sorry, Bill Aaron. Apologies. Thank you. So we'll move on then to
Mr. Chairman, excuse me, may I just thank everybody for the respect shown to Dad. It's greatly appreciated. And could I thank all members throughout the council, staff, officers and members of the council for all the letters of condolence and messages received to Mum, my brother and myself. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll move on to item 1, apologies for absence.
Thank you, Chairman. I've received apologies from councillors Terry Knowles, Adam Griss, Paul Rickett, Stephen Eyre, Carleen Dickinson, Sandra Campbell-Wardman and Claire Arnold. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor.
I think we ought to say George Horton because I expected him to come, but he doesn't appear to have appeared.
Thank you, Councillor McSanders. Yes, Councillor Hall.
Thank you. Councillor Dan McNally as well, please.
Thank you. Included those, yes. Thank you. Right, so we'll move on then to item 2, disclosure of interests. And no, it declares. Nothing. Oh. Councillor Drury.
Item 10. I'm a member of Wainfleet Parish Council, so.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you. Yes, Councillor Laley.
Chair, just for noting, Woodall Spa's on the list of amenities to be upgraded, so I need to have an interest as one of the members for Woodall Spa. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more? Yes.
I'm on Spilsby Town Council, so I need to declare an interest as well.
Thank you. Yes, 2 more. Thank you. Got those? Yes.
So I don't think I need to declare for loud because it so rarely appears on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more? No? Okay. So we move on to item 4. Minutes. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So is there only required if council wishes to discuss exempt minutes to consider including the public and press, excluding the public and press from exempt council minutes, and if appropriate, the chairman to move. So that's under section 100, A4. Just asking for speaking. Yeah, so is there anybody that wishes to speak on the exempt minutes or not? No, don't seem to have any. Thank you, so we can proceed. So I'll move on to item 4, the minutes. To the chairman, we'll now ask for a proposer and second for each set of minutes, please. Thank you. Seconder, councillor Leyland. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, is that for both sets of minutes, by the way? Both sets. Yeah. So that's both sets. Thank you. Yeah, so all those in favour accepting? Any against? Abstentions? Motion's carried. Okay, action sheets, item 5.
Yes, Chairman, just to update council, all the actions are shown as complete with the exception of one, which is a request for a report to come to council on the campus for future living, which is now scheduled for the January meeting of full council. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Jackson.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd just like to mention page 49 is the last action for 3 on the flooding. Given the importance to this district of flooding, I believe we should be responding to the consultation on our own behalf as well. I think that's very important given how crucial it is to people's lives. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor.
Thank you. I just wondered if I could ask why it's not coming back till January, please.
I understand the reason for that is it's a relatively new facility that's opened, and it will be a more meaningful update to council once it's had a 6-month period of operating.
I think a meaningful update about what the business plan is on that facility and how it's going to operate is very pertinent to us, rather than us just seeming to wander on. I haven't seen any plan, asked for one, never seen it.
Councillor Ashton.
Yeah, I just pick up on the point that Councillor Jackson made, just to give some reassurance in a sense that the representations that have been made on this consultation, I believe, have been fairly thorough and represent the views of the water sector, the flood and risk and water management sector across East Lindsey and Lincolnshire. I would also caution any degree of optimism in relation to this, given that it is not talking about making the cake any bigger. It is simply reslicing the same cake. Whilst we welcome maintenance priorities having the ability to apply for funding rather than just on capital, it isn't going to mean more money for Lincolnshire at all. It's simply redistributing the same.
Thank you. More? No. Okay, we'll move on to item 6 then. Communications from me. So our civic events which I've attended was North Kesteven District Council Chairman Civic Service, South Holland District Council Chairman's Civic Service, and also Councillor Villa and Councillor Stan Averson's funerals. They're all the things I've attended. Also, the Chief Executive has exercised his delegation in consultation with myself as Chairman of the Council to move the ELDC January Council meeting, currently listed for the 29th of January, to be on the Wednesday, the 28th of January at 2 p.m, our usual day of the week. Yes, Councillor.
Yeah, I just wonder why there was a movement to take it right into January. It's a long time now before we actually meet again. You know, often before the Christmas one is the pretext towards the budget and where we are with that. We'd like to know what's happening in terms of settlements, such like. What's the rationale for having it so late? Because that means if there is any comments on the budget, for example, and any other business, it just seems as if we're winding down a little bit and we should be doing more scrutiny at this stage. So what's the reason, please?
Yeah, I mean, I think in practical terms, it's certainly unlikely that we'll have clarity on the settlement until Christmas. We had hoped for it earlier, but that doesn't seem to be the case. And to my knowledge, it wouldn't be normal practice to bring a paper on the settlement to council even in January. That tends to go through the executive and scrutiny process. So I don't think there's any particular reason. Councillor Mossop.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Major-Sanders.
Can I say thank you for changing the date? It was something I brought up at the leaders' meeting, and I think I'm really glad that you've changed it. Thank you very much for doing so.
Thank you. Thank you. So we'll move on then. Questions from the public?
Think we have any?
Nope. Thank you. Item 8 then, report of the Chairman of the Executive, Councillor Craig Leyland.
Chair, do you mind if I ask if I remain seated, if that's okay with the Council Chairman? Thank you.
Yeah.
That's very good of you. Mr. Chairman, you have the report before you. I'm just going to sort of go through it fairly quickly. Obviously noting the resignation of Councillor Stephen Evans for the Chapel St Leonard's ward, which will require a by-election, which will be happening in mid-November. I'm sure you'll agree that we pass on our good wishes to Councillor Evans for his work as a councillor. I'm sorry that he's had to step down because of health reasons, but unfortunately he's made that decision. The Campus for Future Living, as we mentioned just now, there'll be a full update on that from Councillor Gray at our next full council meeting. It officially opened in June, as we're all aware, bringing health and wellbeing and research and community support services to the undisturbed area of the coast. And we are proud to be working with Lincolnshire Institute of Rural Coastal Health and Coastal Health, who launched their coastal research programme in July and supported by a presentation by the Chief Medical Officer, former Chief Medical Officer, Professor Chris Whitty. I think there's potentially some exciting news that we're going to be hearing in January as this project develops. I'm very pleased to acknowledge the Best Community and Neighbourhood Initiative Award at APSI. This is a prestigious award for our officers. Bringing home an award from APSI is quite an accolade, and the award was to the Partnership's Innovative Energy and Retrofit Information Clinic van, which has revolutionised community advice and support services in East Lindsey and the wider partnership through local energy advice demonstrator programme. And it's also being used to pick up other information from communities that's helping other officers and teams deal with issues as they see them. So that's really, really good news. We have an update on the ELIF and UK Shared Prosperity grants. Again, very successfully delivered. New grants available, and I do urge you as ward councillors to make sure that your communities, parishes are fully aware of this money that's now available and making an incredible difference to all our communities. We have an update there on the teenage markets, which are being well received, and a report back on the Horncastle or Horse Fair again, which was a well received event, and the Arts Aspirations, a summer of creative collaboration, which has been doing very well. Again, bring creativity and also very good for our communities where this is landing, and it's being well received. The Louth Food and Drink Festival, that happened last weekend. Unfortunately, the weather was very, very poor and it was a real challenge. I'm sorry to see that because it's usually a very, very well attended event, and I'm sure we will do our best to make sure that the next ones are going to be even more well attended, hopefully, but we can't control the weather. So going on to local government reorganisation, I said that I'd on the notes provide a briefing of where we are up to this point. So Boston, East Lindsey and South Holland councils are well into drafting our LGR proposal, and the submission deadline, as we all know, is November 28th. It is expected there will be 5 other proposals submitted to government from this area. One from North Lincolnshire Council, North East Lincolnshire Council, excuse me, City of Lincoln bid, a Lincolnshire County Council bid, which we're aware of, and a joint bid from North Kesteven and South Kesteven. And we firmly believe that our proposed geography and vision is the most compelling for Greater Lincolnshire and delivers on all the government's criteria. In relation to our proposal, Greater Lincolnshire for All, in recent weeks we have undertaken significant engagement with MPs, strategic partners, town and parish council and their representative bodies and the wider community. We have 3 public engagement sessions remaining in Boston, Louth and Skegness, and we look forward to discussing the Greater Lincolnshire for All bid with all those attending. Along with the senior officer groups, group leaders continue to be updated on our LGR proposals, and we continue to share correspondence with government with all councillors when we receive it. The final monthly member discussion, sorry, I'll just turn the page on this, sessions ahead of submission is tomorrow night via Teams, and the focus is adult and children's services, a critical area of the proposals and one that's probably the most challenging in terms of how we deal with that, because we will be changing the structures that are existing. So we do believe that we have a good presentation on that. And thereafter we have sessions planned for all councillors, and these are in your diaries for November the 3rd, one daytime and one evening. And this is an opportunity for you to share input into the draft proposals, and we will share the draft around a week before, so you have the opportunity to read and digest. After our proposal has been submitted, we expect government to undertake a statutory consultation early next year, with the final proposal known in mid-2026. At present, we believe the shadow councils will be informed from April 2027, and the new councils will go live in 28. Now, there's lots of rumour and guessing about the timeline for this. There may be time pressures because of the government capacity at the moment, but we prepare for both eventualities. If this does go ahead, we feel that we have a good submission. If it is delayed, we will deal with that. And equally, if it's ever the case that it's stopped altogether, we as a partnership with Boston, South Holland and ourselves are in a very good place, as we've seen with our recent report from the peer review. We are doing good work for our communities. So that's the update on LGR. Just a quick update on the peer review, that we had a day visit from the peer team. So last week we were pleased to welcome the peer team from the LGA back to our council. Since their first visit in November 24, we have been working to deliver the action plan we agreed, and we're grateful to Overview Committee for their ongoing oversight and support in this. And I'd also like to thank those members who engaged in the visit itself. And the peers in their follow-up visit were impressed with the progress made. They described us as a very good council, reinforcing the point from their first visit. Clearly, as with any peer review, there are areas that they have identified for us to focus on, and we now await the follow-up report that we will share with all councillors. We did share a recording of the feedback session with all councillors, so hopefully you've been able to review this. Happy to take questions, Chairman. Thank you.
Any questions? Yes, Councillor Jackson.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for that report, Councillor Leyland. I'd like to join you in congratulating the Heart team for their APS award. I thought that was really good. I'm also really encouraged by the continuing success of the teenage markets. I think that's something that has continued to bear fruit. On the LGR update, I am grateful for the continuing meetings that we have as councillors, but I do wonder whether we will need an extraordinary full council. I mean, this is the most important change, the biggest change to local government in 50 years. And it's important that we have a chance to scrutinise it and comment on it. I think, and perhaps even vote on it in a formal capacity. So my question is, should we be doing that as well as having these briefings? Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions, Councillor Marlow?
Thank you. It's not a question really, it's just a comment about the teenage markets, just to say that they are really beneficial for the teenagers that are working on them. I know a young lady who's, like many teenagers in this day and age, suffers from anxiety and mental health problems, and she loves the teenage markets and she makes things and sells things, and it's done wonders for her self-esteem and self-confidence. I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Leonard?
Thank you, so kind. Now, obviously, as the boots on the ground representing Louth and actually getting out there and seeing what's happening in the real world, the first point on when you've obviously mentioned grants. When are we looking to bring back the shop front grant to Louth? That's desperately in need of reinstatement. There are lots of very tired looking shops in Louth, and perhaps a little bit of funding could be lavished on Louth for a change. The teen markets, well, I've been there. There we go. I'll probably move on at that point. And the rest of the market, considering Louth's the largest market town in this district, and yet actually it always seems to get the least benefit. So we seem to have improved Wednesday markets, but Friday markets and Saturday markets, if it wasn't for a fruit stall and a flower stall, there'd be very little there indeed. So again, when are we going to put a little bit more into that? Art aspirations, well, Louth, I mentioned it to my staff today at work and a couple of customers that came in. Most of them weren't aware of it, so I presume that's probably another Facebook activity. Food drink message. I noticed in the wording on here, it says on Sunday the 28th of September, Louth will welcome. I think we've gone past that date somehow. So I presume this report was written quite some time ago by somebody who never thought we'd be reading it at this date. The market, Councillor Hobson here, who is the current mayor of Louth, was there to officially open it on that Sunday and was greeted by an audience of 2. Great turnout, really great turnout, despite the weather. So it became a bit like Louth's best kept secret because nobody really knew about it. There were no posters in shop windows, no flyers handed out, nothing. Why does the district council seem to think that you can run Louth Market from an office here? You can't. We want people on the ground talking to the traders, finding out why they're not coming or why they are coming, whichever the case may be. So perhaps those little points could be noted and some relevant answers given as to why it's all going so horribly wrong. Thank you.
Councillor Makinson-Sanders.
If you could just bear with me because I've got a cold, but I've got quite a lot I wanted to read out. Resignations. I was at the count when Councillor Evans was actually elected, so I've watched his time here with great interest. I'm told he's not in the best of health, and on behalf of the independent group, we send him our good wishes. I went to the exciting opening event at the Campus for Future Living, and whilst it was very disappointing Dr. Chris Whitty couldn't attend in person, it was action-packed with an interactive day, and in particular, it was really useful to meet the academics from the Institute of Coastal and Rural Health. We had some interesting discussions. Professor Hussey was one of our star witnesses at our caravan scrutiny, and I was able to thank him in person. And he was a charming person, and he was really interesting to chatter to. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of competitive grant funding, but I do welcome this investment in our communities. On the subject of teenage markets, I met these brothers at a course at Loughborough University, and it's been very exciting to watch the initiative grow. But I'd like some more information, please, just how vital and viable is actually following up these young people. You know, it's all very well getting them to go to market, but they'll need some assistance to take their businesses forward. Art inspirations, that's another interesting initiative which I joined in, but again, the publicity was minimal And it was only because I knew one of the artists that I actually joined in. But I did manage to browbeat quite a lot of other people into joining in, and our tiles will now be in Spout Yard for all to see. A feast for the senses sounds very Tennysonian to me. I think given the event happened a couple of weeks ago, I'm going to echo Councillor Leonard's things. I think this text should have been updated. I think it's poor. It wasn't. Sadly, the publicity for the event was very poor. I was in a swimming pool when somebody asked me why the centre of town was going to be closed off at the weekend. There are 2 people that are active in the town and they had no clue what was going on. It needs proper attention. And there were so many security teams prowling around on the day. I found that spoilt things a little bit. I learned it wasn't run by a local team, and I've asked a question about that further on the agenda. If this is an annual event, why weren't we better prepared for it? However, I did learn how to make Ukrainian dumplings that day at one of the Ukrainian cafe in Louth, so I did have some fun despite the rain. And it's a big day coming up for Councillor Leyland later this week, so I'd like to wish him happy birthday for Friday. And he's just a few days short of Mrs. Thatcher's 100th birthday anniversary. So we've already given you an early birthday present, Councillor Leyland, but I'd like to remind you, this lady's not for turning. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Danny Brooks.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to thank Councillor Leyland for the report and the good work that this council continues to do. LGR, yeah, we all know that's maybe a mishmash, but the teenage market I think was very, very good, and it's nice to see that we're encouraging teenage businesses to be setting up. So I'd just like to thank you for the report. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Martin.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. I should probably have declared an interest because my grandson has stood on Horncastle, Louth and Spilsby teenage markets, and he does 3D printing and he's done extremely well from it. He's only 13 and it's given him a really good sense of something to do with his life. And he put £300 in the bank the other day, which is probably more than I've got it in mine.
Well done. Anyone else? Councillor Leyland, would you like to answer that?
Thank you. Just going through the points in order. So Councillor Jackson, thank you for your positive comments relating to the Hearts team and the teenage markets. The Hearts team have done fantastically well, and it's really good to get that accolade from APSI. Regarding LGR update, we've discussed this before in terms of where the decision's made. It is an executive decision, but I'm more than happy to engage as widely as possible and get all the council together so we can discuss it, even though it might not be the decision-making process that you're probably looking for. But there is this event tomorrow evening, which, sorry, the event's coming up on that I mentioned in my report. So we've noticed, and this is, you know, I know people's availability is sometimes difficult, but the events that we have held for councillors have not been necessarily well attended. So if I could urge councillors to get on the right side of that, that would be really helpful. Thank you. Well, thank you for telling us that. Yeah. So yes, taking your point on that, Councillor Monarch, I do appreciate your positive comments about the teenage market. I know it's been incredibly successful. Councillor Leonard, no, not at all. You know, I've been dealing with Louth as a councillor, and a portfolio holder for a number of years, and remembering the days when we had a town manager, and I do urge Louth residents, community groups, ward councillors to engage as positively as you can, because that money is there for the communities. You mentioned shopfront grants. If the town council want to put together a proposal to get Heritage Lincolnshire involved, I'm doing the same. Councillor Kemp and myself are getting Heritage Lincolnshire to look at some signage in Woodall, and getting the parish council involved. So if I can urge you to engage with the town council to get fully on board with that. We will be happy to have a full discussion about how we can engage all our officer teams that have some relevance to this process, and get the best benefit for Louth as possible. We want all our communities to benefit from this windfall that we have. I'm going to pick up the points about the food event. The weather was appalling, but we will learn from the comments that have been made about communication and publicity. But bearing in mind, previous year's events were very, very well attended, so we might just need to do a comparator on what the difference was to the success. But the weather does play a mighty big part in this. Councillor Matheson Sanders, thank you ever so much for your birthday wishes. I didn't quite realise you cared so much, I suspected, Councillor Simpson, your brutal honesty is welcomed. I'm another year old and probably not necessarily another year wiser, yeah, thank you for that. So. Thank you for your comments about Councillor Evans. That those are, I will hopefully be able to pass those on. We are sorry to see his standing down. The Campus for Future Living, that event, unfortunately I couldn't get to it, but I know from the feedback that I've had, it was incredibly well received, and we know that site has great potential. Grant funding, thank you for your welcome of that. Teenage markets, we'll find out, I can get that information for you in relation to your question. And again, comparing the publicity of events, past and present, to see if we can do any better in that regard. And fully understand that. And I do appreciate that you have a question regarding the running of the market. Thank you very much, Councillor Brooks, for your very positive comment. It's welcome. And Councillor Martin, again, really welcome the feedback on the teenage market. It's something that has landed very, very well. And, the getting people involved in things and being positive about stuff, it really makes a difference when they can see the physical benefits of what they're doing. And if they're making a bother too about it, out of it as well, really good for them. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Right, so we move on to item 9, to consider approval of the 2025-26 Q1 finance update capital. That's report's going to be presented by Councillor Tom Kemp.
Thank you, Chair. As members are aware, throughout the year, quarterly monitoring reports are completed forecasting expected year-end outturn compared to the approved budget. This report provides relevant information for Council consideration and approval following the Executive Board's consideration on Wednesday, the 24th of September. You've all seen the report, but I will give a little bit of flesh on the bones regarding the capital. Table 1 of Appendix A provides details of all the capital schemes and their forecast position. The total capital programme for 25-26 was approved at 43.465 million, and forecast expenditure for 25-26 is 39.795 million, an underspend of 4.984 million against a revised budget of 44.779 million. Further to this, the report details before you adjustments to the programme of 1.314 million detailed in Table 3 of Appendix A. Section B of Table 3 requires Council's consideration in line with the Constitution. Those aspects to be considered relate to the UK SPF grant of 531,000 received and now confirmed from the combined mayoral authority via North East Lincolnshire Council. UK, I'll get it right one time. UK SPF rural grant 538k received, now confirmed from combined mayoral authority via North East Lincolnshire Council. Spilsby Sessions House 1.006 million additional funding received from Heritage at Risk to bolster this scheme. The recommendations are that following a recommendation by the Executive Board, Council approves the amendments to the capital programme as detailed in Appendix A, Table 3, Section B. And the reason for this is to ensure the Council's forecast financial position for 25-26 is considered and related decisions approved. It is important that Council are aware of the financial position of the capital programme to ensure that they can make informed decisions that are affordable and financially sustainable for the Council. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Yeah, could Yes, Councillor Jackson.
Thank you, Chairman. Thanks for this report. I've got a couple of questions on it. On the 3G pitch.
Excuse me, Rose.
Sorry.
Until we've got a seconder, we can't we can't speak. So what we're after is a proposer and a seconder, please.
Happy to second, Chair. Thank you.
Right. Get those? Yes. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Sorry about that. On the 3G pitch, I've got a question. I understand fully why it was refused because of local opposition and the planning issues, including problems with microplastics. However, it is disappointing that this money is wiped from the slate with no investment into Louth sports. We do need in Louth free, accessible physical activities, and I do believe that that's quite important for the health of the local residents. My other question on this chart is what's the hold up on the solar panels? It's obviously quite important too as a Labour group, but also in terms of making sure that we meet our net zero targets. So what's the hold up? Because that has been in the books for quite some time. Thank you.
Yep. Councillor Leonard.
Thank you. I just noted on the top there, it said Kingfisher enhancements and Kingfisher lawnmower. I presume is that part of the Caravan Invest East Links money, or just that's the first technical part of my query before I go blundering in. That all looks so you've got to jump and give me an answer. We got anybody that knows what's actually on this spreadsheet?
Councillor Leonard, just to help, this isn't a question and answer session. It's a case of debate, speak, and then it's summed up at the end by the portfolio holder.
Debate, speak. So, well, I want to debate about this issue, but I want to make sure that I'm referring to the right element and not making myself look a fool as usual.
But just to reiterate, it isn't a question and answer session. You can make your point, and it should be picked up.
Okay, so assuming I'm getting it horribly wrong, why are we on this balance sheet showing enhancements and lawnmower purchases for Kingfisher, which I assumed was a separate organisation? And if so, why are we paying this money into them? Surely they would be a standalone financial operation. Secondly, food waste. It doesn't say what food waste is. Could be anybody, anything. Is that to do with the caddies that are coming from the government? What is it in relation to? I do find this very, very vague. And I would ask the question, is there a reason why it's so vague?
Councillor Hesketh.
Can I just echo that, because the information seems to be very scant when it's got very large amounts of money attached to it. And I think as a principle, I'll just echo the things about the Kingfisher enhancements and a lawnmower. You know, there should be, against any of these type of investments, there should be a plan as to why we're making the investment and what return we're going to get on them. And I haven't detected anything like that. And I could also say the same about the decarbonisation of assets. It's all well and good having a budget for decarbonisation of our assets, but how long is it going to take for us to get our money back in making this? Is it a worthwhile investment? And I would like to have some judgment and some foresight to say, is it a worthwhile investment we're making? We talked about this in overview, and I don't seem to have had any, I haven't seen any reasonable explanation about what our plans are on decarbonisation. It just seemed to be a bit of a rewrite of the report as far as I could see. And then the third one is that there seems to be about 1.5 million being spent on Broadway and Colonnade car park. Now, I've asked several times for a business plan for the Colonnade, never seen one, would like to see one. And now we're going to spend £1.5 million on a car park, no detail as to what it's going to be. If it's to replace the grass car park with a tarmac one, and bring in no extra money, why on earth are we doing it? because there was a study done to say, is this a good thing to do or not? And I think the conclusion was it wasn't a good idea. I'd much rather money be spent on that piece of scrap land, which is next to the very nice colonnade. But maybe there's another plan, another grant that we're applying for. So I think in general, I think that we should, I'd like to have more detail on these. I'm not talking pages, just some more detail about what are you trying to do? How long is it going to get the money back? What's it going to be spent on? Because it leaves us, I felt a little blind. And the final thing is the table on page 66 has a title of capital programme. So I'm wondering why we've got swimming pool support fund at £222,000 in a capital programme. It seemed to me like that would be a revenue sort of thing. So I'm just confused about that as well.
Thank you. Any more comments? Councillor Sanders?
Mr. Chairman, in the capital programme, I would really like to see some investment in Louth Industrial Estate, given the amount of growth that's being foisted upon us. Is there any room for optimism? Because we seem to be dashed down all the time asking for that. And like Councillor Jackson, the 3G pitch on page 65, why is the council giving up on Louth sporting legacy? We really need to be, we know we are short of football facilities, in particular in Louth. So what's going on? Is nobody bothering with that anymore? We just said, well, that's it. Louth, you get on with it because you didn't want it where we erroneously placed it. I'm sad to see the decommitment of ICT monies on page 65. I would have thought we should be looking at investing in some of that and in modern technologies. And if we don't hurry up, we will be left behind.
Okay, I'll take one more. Councillor Simpson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Just to continue from what my colleagues' points, when we look at it says here the monies for Kingfisher enhancements. Is that enhancement in terms of improving the attraction of the facility, or is that in referring to the fact that they've actually resolved the business of the electrical supply issues, which basically is a repair job? We need a little bit more. We do need a little bit more detail as to the money. I mean, enhancement seems a very broad term, which doesn't really tie us down to exactly what. So we need more specific information when you put these numbers. And the other thing is, if I may, there's a figure here: portable closed circuit television, £7,000. Not a lot of money, but is that, as a matter of interest, something that we could be used in connection with our the business of monitoring fly tipping, etc., etc.? Is it going to be used for that sort of thing? You know, if we have a use of what the portable TV, closed circuit television is for, and I'd like to think it is going to be used for something like monitoring fly tipping.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we have a proposer and seconder.
Mr. Chair, can I just pick up on some of the points before Councillor Kemp comes in with some more detail? So the Kingfisher, probably need to remind councillors that East Lindsey, while they invest East Lindsey, have a function at Kingfisher. East Lindsey own the site itself. So the enhancements are to do with that. In respect of Councillor Maxton Sanders asking about Louth Industrial Estate, we are in discussions with County Council how we can progress that and how we fund that. That's from the Invest East Lindsey Fund. So that's positive news that it's on its way and hopefully progressing as quickly as we can make it.
Could you give us a timeline?
I can't at this point in time, but I'll happily provide you the information when I've got it. But it is work in progress. The car park in Sutton-on-Sea, that has been a long established ambition to put a car park in there. It was part of the original business plan to make it happen. If you remember, there was a long local objection to it because it was a wildlife sanctuary, apparently. One could believe that that could be so. But this is the fruition of work and a plan to put that in place. And it's an enhancement to the facility that we have in the colonnade. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Cap.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Jackson, I'll remain seated if I can. The 3G pitch in Louth, I do take your point. There were compelling reasons why that project didn't go ahead. Subsequent to that, reinvestment in Louth is certainly something that this council takes seriously. Any projects that are worthwhile, a good investment in terms of the community and financially viable will always be looked at. So I hope that helps in that regard. Regarding the solar panels, you asked what the delay was. There is a plan in place for the installation and so forth, which I believe we're online with. Who have I put here? Who was next? Forget who it was. I think food waste, which was raised as an issue. I believe that it is in order from what I understand from speaking to Councillor Foster. So I don't see any particular issues on that. Councillor Hesketh, decarbonisation, you did make points about it. There is a plan that has been put in place on that one, which we are sticking to. I know that Councillor Marsh and myself are keen on advocating that one. Councillor Mackinson standards, I think, oh yes, Craig's dealt with the funding on that issue. You echoed the point regarding funding for Louth Sports. Hopefully I've dealt with that to some degree, but any projects that are worthwhile, happy to always look at them and consider. It's always a benefit to the public we're looking at. ICT funding, I think there was a compelling point on that one regarding it, but this council is fully seized of technology going forward. We're investing a lot of money in AI and considering the future. So we are well braced for that one. So yes, it is certainly something we are seized of. Councillor Simpson, I think Kingfish has been dealt with. The CCTV point you made about fly tipping, that is entirely the point on the CCTV. Having spoken with Councillor Boss, that is one of the primary reasons for it. Hopefully I've covered all of the points between myself and Craig. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you. Right, so we move to the vote. We have a proposer and seconder. All those in favour? Those against? Abstentions? No. Oh, one. That motion's carried. Right, move on to item 10. Consider the approval for the use of the council's capital reserve as set out within the report. Councillor Leyland.
Thank you, Chair. This could have come under any number of portfolio holders. And just relating to the previous agenda item, I will make sure that there is a detailed answer to all those points that have been made, because the information is there. If we had to present all those information sets with that update from the finance portfolio holder, the detail of that would probably make it about a 60-page report. So, but we will happily provide the detail for that. Right, okay, so let's press on. So we're looking at this recommendation. As I say, it could have come under a number of portfolio headings. It's come under mine as property portfolio holder. So at its meeting of the 24th of September 25, the Exec Board supported the use of up to £1.65 million from the capital reserve to fund the full refurbishment of 6 sets of public conveniences which are listed, and the proposal is before you here today. So the recommendation is that council approves the use of this £1.65 million from the council's capital reserve fund for the public convenience refurbishment and replacements set out in the report. There was a question raised at the executive board, and it has been subsequently raised, about what will happen to the facilities or the public access to toilets in the meantime. That is part of the programme of works, that there will be replacements, replacement of provision at those locations as good as it can be, given the work that needs to be done. So I think this is a very positive report for a number of communities in our district, and I would look for this council to support this recommendation. So the recommendation is that the council approves the use of £1.65 million from the council's capital reserve to fund these communities, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Could I have a proposer for that, please? Second. A seconder, sorry. 3.
Can you just name the second? Councillor Marsh.
Yes, councillor Marsh has seconded it. The speakers, councillor Leonard, councillor Leonard first then.
I do apologise if you're bored with my voice. Would it not have been a better idea to have gone to the relevant parish councils in the first instance and said, if we refurbish them, will you take it on board? Rather than refurbish them and then ask the question. I didn't realise you were answering for the committee. Sorry.
Right, councillor Cullington.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'm a councillor with fairness and equality, and I think prior to 2019, this council decided that all toilets would either be contract out, shut, or run by towns and parishes. I see this report now over £1 million to refurbish these toilets. We're coming upon devolution. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what is going to happen with these toilets, whether towns and parishes are going to take them on or not. We could spend the money and they'd be shut collecting dust. So Councillor Leonard just raised it, and I think it's a very valid point, and it was going to be my point to start with anyway. Why do we spend the money, and would we consider going out to some sort of consultation with the town and parish and saying, look, if we spend the money and refurbish them, will you take them? Because otherwise we're going to spend it, and they'll say, when it comes to them having to take them, sorry, we don't want them, then we waste all that money. The money could be spread across those towns and parishes to make those facilities even better. We all pay the same council tax across East Lindsey. Every one of our towns paid the same. Residents in Skegness have to pay 40 pence to go to their public toilets, and Louth and Mablethorpe. However, the towns and parishes named in this report go free of charge. It's not fair on the residents of those towns that do pay. They should all be the same price or free, whichever way. Thank you.
Councillor Martin.
Thank you. Well, on behalf of Horncastle, can I welcome this report and say that this is something that we've been asking for many years now. This council, going back 20, 30 years, had a programme of enhancing toilets. We used to do 1, if not 2 blocks every year. But in recent years, we haven't actually had the resources to be able to do that. So I'm very pleased that we're again looking at doing this. It would be nice to see Horncastle toilets looking as good inside as the outside looks. And if any of you haven't been to the public conveniences in Horncastle and seen the striking outside that Councillor Gray and myself actually helped paint a couple of years ago, I would recommend it as a tourist attraction. It's worth going to see. And it will actually be good to see the insides looking as good as the outside, because at the moment, I have to say, you walk through the splendid front door and the insides don't do justice to the outside at all. So that would be good. And just in reply to what's been said, actually Horncastle Town Council was asked several years ago on several occasions, would they take the toilets on? As I know a lot of other parish councils were told and asked too. And our reply was that yes, we would, if they were, or we would look seriously at taking them on if they were refurbished, because the town council didn't have the resources to do the urgent refurbishment that we knew was needed. So, you know, if asked the question again, and I know Councillor Bristow might well have something to say about this because she chaired the scrutiny committee on public toilets recently. So any of you who've read that report will know what recommendations came through overview for public toilets. So what will probably now happen when these are done, we'll know that that's very much on the cards. So I welcome this report and I do recommend you come and have a look at Horncastle.
Councillor Bristow.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I have to echo Councillor Mrs. Martin's comments. I'm delighted to see this as the chair of the most recent public convenience and scrutiny. I'm sure Councillor Ashton, who was the chair of the one 5 years prior, and I'm sure there have been many along the way. I'm disappointed to hear to see that many people have not actually looked at that report, which contains lovely photographs of all of these toilets, because we visited each and every one of them to assess the situation and make recommendations accordingly. So some are worse than others. Spilsby, I think, takes the cake for the worst. So I am absolutely delighted. I think that in looking forward to devolution, we have a lot of money in the bank right now that our taxpayers put in. Shouldn't they get some of that back? I don't pay council tax in Rugby, but I can tell you right now, I stop at those pretty much every trip, and I would imagine most of you do as well. Well, that's good for you. So I think this is absolutely brilliant news, and I think that it shows that we are continuing an investment in this district. And I do absolutely agree that a town or parish council is much more likely to consider taking on such an asset transfer if what they're getting is worth having, which this would enable it to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Simpson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I think this is a very good spending of money. I think it's absolutely essential for the quality of life of residents when they wish to visit our towns, and it's absolutely essential for our tourist industry, because if you don't provide such facilities, why would you want to come again? And I reiterate Councillor Martin's comments on that, and I think it's a very positive move and very good. Thank you very much for making the investment.
Ashton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do genuinely love the eccentricities sometimes within this place. On the previous item on the agenda, out of some 40 odd million pounds worth on a table, we came down to the debate on a lawnmower. Here we are talking about spending 1.65 million pounds on public conveniences in some of our smaller towns, and the first two speakers stand up to complain about it. This genuinely does represent the kind of investment that district councils, the length and breadth of Britain and Lincolnshire, would love to be able to do. To pick up on Councillor Bristow's point, yes, I remember very well chairing the scrutiny back in 2017, and on the point for Rugby, I remember in 2017, 39,000 visitors a year to those public conveniences in Rugby, which represents 39,000 people stopping in Rugby to spend money, I would hope, with the butcher shop and with the pubs and other facilities in that town that would not otherwise do so. So, this does represent a genuine investment in some of our local economies, a genuine investment in some of our smaller, and they would argue sometimes more neglected. I wouldn't say they're neglected, but sometimes our smaller communities may feel a little bit neglected. Given that whenever we seem to spend money in Horncastle and Rugby and Wainfleet, councillor from Skegness and Louth Winch, I'm sure given the investment that we have put into Louth and into Skegness and actually across this district, this is simply evidence that this council sharing the bounty, sharing the good financial position that it finds itself in at the moment. And as I say, there are councils across the country that wouldn't be able to spend this sort of money. They wouldn't be looking at spending this sort of money, putting its public conveniences into the best possible state that they could be. They would be looking at their budget next year and thinking, we've got to close these. And actually, if we had had the financial headroom back in 2017 when we were doing that scrutiny report then, as what we do now, it would have been interesting to see what other options we might have been able to put on the table. But times have moved, and they have moved for this district in an incredibly positive direction.
Thank you. Councillor Yardley.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to echo Councillor Martin's comments. I think they were very well made. I'd also like to thank Councillor Bristow
who did the scrutiny, which has brought us this money. With regards to rugby, we have enormous number of people stopping there, and it is fantastic business for our local area. Our fish and chips, our pizza shop, our butcher get a lot of business. In the summer, we had a pop-up museum, which was supported by County Council as well as East Lindsey, and they saw enormous amounts of footfall, and they just shut in September. So I just like to say thank you very, very much. And with regards to the point about parish councils, I know Rugby Parish Council said to me directly that if you're going to offer this public convenience to us in the shape it is, we do not want it, you can have it. And they said if it looked better, we will absolutely consider taking it on. So thank you very much, we greatly appreciate it.
Thank you. Councillor Jackson.
Thank you, Chairman. I recall a few years ago the high price that the district council had to pay for the roof of the cattle market in Louth, and it was just an illustration of an ounce of prevention being worth a pound of cure. And so I think this investment in the long-term maintenance and refurbishment is going to really pay off in terms of the tourism benefits and particularly the health benefits for our residents. So I think this is a worthwhile investment that we on the Labour Group do welcome. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Magidson-Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, Councillor Ashton, on the naughty step, I have never whinged about toilets in Wainfleet. I don't have an opinion about toilets in Wainfleet. It very seldom go there, and why would I have an opinion? So I think you should withdraw that. Don't point the finger where there's no finger to point. Right, 2.2 of this report. We keep using the SCAPE framework, which many of us know only too well is overly expensive and not particularly effective. And I still can't understand why we don't put our money where our mouth is and employ local businesses to do this work for us and put money back into the local circular economy. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Marlock.
I'm another one just adding to the positive news about this investment in the toilets. Like Councillor Yardsley, I was on Councillor Bristow's scrutiny group, and it's really heartening, isn't it, to see this kind of money on these toilets. Somebody mentioned about some toilets are 40p and some are free. I don't know about other districts, but in Mablethorpe, if the town and parish council run the toilets, they're free. If they're I can't think what I'm trying to say there. If they're opted out and it's another company that's running them, then yes, they are 40p, which is quite a lot of money when you're on a holiday and you've got a large family with you. I was in Horncastle the other week, and I had no idea, Councillor Martin, that you were responsible for those wonderful. I was walking down a little street and suddenly these amazing toilets are there, and it was like, wow, where am I? And although they're old, they were certainly very clean, and the fact they were free was a huge added bonus, but they are well worth going to see. It was like stepping into some Alice in Wonderland thing.
Councillor Danny Brooks.
Thank you, Chair. I do support this. I do think our toilets do need upgrading. I was on the scrutiny with Councillor Bristow. Regarding the whinging, we only whinge because we have to pay 40 pence to spend a penny in Skegness. Everyone else can do it for less than a penny, so it's not bad value elsewhere. But no, I support this. I think the toilets do need upgrading, as do Skegness's. And regarding Councillor Martin, you know where there's free paint now if you need some. Get yourself to a household recycling centre.
Thank you. Right, so we have a proposer and a seconder. So we'll move to the vote then, please. Oh, sorry, response to question.
I'm quite happy to carry on and vote.
Yeah.
You know, if you want me to carry on and vote, that's fine. But yeah. There's some general points and there's some specifics, Chairman. So I don't want to rerun the argument of why we charge for some of our conveniences. Toilets are not a mandatory service. They're concession. They're something that we do that we don't have to do, and the rationale for charging what was made at the time. But I would say that the comment about why we shouldn't asset transfer them first or offer that point. We had a very thorough engagement with town and parish councils a number of years ago, offering asset transfers to those town and parish councils to take the toilets on, and there was a common theme about condition and whether that was possible. Now, certainly, I know in Tom and I's ward, that was a real issue. There's a wider issue here as well. It was mentioned about, you know, LGRs coming along. LGR does not freeze us from doing good things. We still need to be doing good things for our residents and businesses. The reality is, as I said earlier, if LGR does not continue, we still need to be making sure that we are a good council delivering for our residents. And on the other side of that, if LGR does happen, we are providing a really good legacy for our communities in making sure that the assets that people rely on in terms of tourism and all the things that we've talked about as a positive are there for the future new councils who might have different pressures and different priorities, because there will be, you know, a political regime that will be very different to this running of this council. So there is a positive to this, whatever happens with LGR. So picking up some of the points, we're going to go ahead with this work, and I'm pleased to hear some of the positive points that have been made. And Horncastle is fantastic. It's a, you know, I dare say, I don't want to say a breath of fresh air, but you know, it's very pleasant to walk past them. So the points are being well made about the positivity of this. So I'm really pleased to hear those comments this evening, and this is something good for the wider district, for all our communities, coastal and inland. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that. So we will now go into the vote. So those in favour of this motion? Those against? Oh, yes.
But we haven't had the answers to some of the questions we asked. I mean, why are we still using scope, for instance? I would like an answer to that.
I quite happily answer that. We do have a procurement methodology that we have to adopt as a council. It's very difficult to not go through that procurement process. It's something that we're legally required to do. I'm sure one of our officers can update as needed if that's required. But if you want a more detailed answer, that quite happily provide that. But we've had this issue time and time before about how we procure contracts for this council. It's not just us as a council that has to deal with this. It's all councils that go through procurement. So I can understand the frustration, and sometimes into contracts there will be a condition that your percentage of the work is contracted locally. But you know, that's detail that we can pick up and supply. Quite happy to do that.
Right. Abstentions? Yes, it makes it Sanders. Right, that motion is carried. Yeah. So we move on to item 11, to consider approval for the designation of a Section 151 officer, and Councillor Craig Langlands will present.
Thank you, Chair. So this paper comes before us. The council has an obligation to designate a suitably qualified Section 151 officer. The council's interim Section 151 officer, Brendan Arnold, leaves the council at the end of this contract. And thank you, Brendan, for your service to this council. The report brings to council the designation of a Section 151 officer to ensure that the statutory functions associated with the role are fulfilled, and at present the role would be undertaken on a shared basis across South and East Lincolnshire Partnership. So the recommendation is that Russell Stone, the council's incoming Director of Finance, is designated as the council's Section 151 officer with effect from the 3rd of November 2025. That is the recommendation, Chair.
Thank you. Can we have a seconder, please? Councillor Marsh. Any questions? Councillor Jackson.
Thank you. I'd just like to offer my thanks to Brendan Arnold for his work as a Section 151 officer, which, though brief, has been very impactful. And I look forward to working with Russell Stone.
Thank you. Councillor Makinson-Sanders.
I'd like to echo those words. I want to thank you, Brendan, for how you've revolutionised, how you involve all councillors in the budget process. It's something that we've been looking for years. And I'm really glad you came along because you've woken us all up. And on behalf of the independent group, thank you very much indeed for all your work.
Thank you. Right, no more questions. So we have a proposer and seconder. So moving to the vote. Those in favour? Those against? None. Abstentions? 1. Councillor Lennon. That motion's carried. So swiftly on to item 12, to receive a report on the partnership's performance. Again, incumbent on Councillor Lane.
Thank you. So, Mr. Chairman, we have the report before us, and I hope everyone's had the chance to go through it. The report sets out the progress of the South and East Lincolnshire Councils partnership since the last update. Southhold into the 21st of May 25. So the recommendation is to note the report and obviously the reasons for this is to monitor the progress that we've seen. So the background is very clear there. So some of the key features of alignment and delivery, some of the very good successes we've had in gaining external funding, and then the track of savings that we're delivering as a council, as a partnership of councils. And that's very clearly identified in the table below point 2.5. And then we go into the priority areas of the work that we're doing. So in terms of growth and prosperity partnership, the healthy lives priority partnership, and the safer communities work and environment partnership. So I'm quite happy to take questions on this. Obviously, as a partnership now, I think there's a much more positive atmosphere in terms of where all three councils are at in terms of our political alignment. We are working very well together in terms of framing our LGR proposals, and that all bodes well. And again, I'll reference the point that if LGR doesn't happen, our partnership is still a very viable and strong entity that will continue to drive the benefits of a shared management team, and also the fact that we have a wider footprint in engaging with government. So more than happy to take questions, Chair. The report's there for noting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lennon. Any questions on that matter? Councillor Simpson.
Just one thing, unless I've missed it somewhere. When we have these graphs here which talk about, look at the savings track, and we have cashable and non-cashable, we don't actually have a separating out of the cashable and the non-cashable figure. And I wonder if that's something that can be done, because it's all in one, and we don't have a perception. When we talk about cashable, I take that to mean that you have cash in the bank as a result of, rather than a saving by doing something different. Like, you see what I mean? Thank you.
Mr. Chair, while that question's fresh in my mind, can I just ask Chief Exec to make comment on that, because it has been a point that's made before, but I'm happy to allow the Chief Exec to explain the difference.
Yeah, certainly. We do have a Excel spreadsheet which has got all the items that make these figures up, and it will denote whether something is cashable or non-cashable. So we can certainly look to amend this to show that to members.
Any more? Councillor Hesketh.
Yeah, so could you just explain? So we've made 4 million in savings this year, and it looks like we're going to make 4 million in savings next year. Maybe you could just give us a top three of those, which comes into those categories. It'd be nice to have, so we can celebrate that. I think it's a very good news story, but it has to have something to say we've saved here, and here.
Mr. Chairman, so
Not really. I'm in danger of contradicting myself with your advice to Councillor Leonard. It should not be a question session. It should be for portfolio holders to sum up.
Thank you.
yeah, so essentially, Councillor, we're happy to itemise what those items are, but a lot of that will be down to the fact that we're a shared management, and there'll be other things in terms of procurement benefits that we've had. and a number of other things. But I'm quite happy to give that detail to you if that's what you require.
Thank you. Councillor Makerson-Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At 2.3, it says that the key element is securing external funding. I think this looks really good on paper, but sadly our market towns and our villages appear only to benefit marginally. I could go on about all the various bits and bobs and about our lack of police and all the rest of it, which we seem to be have a priority for, so we don't seem to be achieving that. But I would like to challenge Councillor Leyland. Are we confident we are really getting our fair share of the 47% we pay into this partnership? Thank you.
Yes, the response in terms of your concern about our share of the funding and the share of the gain that we get, that is under constant review, and we are actually in the process of reviewing that and coming to a conclusion on that. Actually, I don't want to say the outcome of that at the moment, but it is an issue that we've raised. And as I said earlier, we are in a much more positive position in terms of the council's political alignment on things. So hopefully I can give you a good update on that in a week or two's time. I'm sure, yeah, thank you. And just in respect of, the benefits and where they land and accrue with our towns, the fact that we have been able to secure this external funding means that the benefit that we've had from our business rate uplift in terms of the funding of our East Lindsey Investment Fund means that that money can be spread far and wide for our community. So there is benefit of the process of actually delivering that external funding locally, because the benefits is we can spend money that we would have had to spend on these things elsewhere, actually benefiting those communities and market towns and villages. Thank you.
Thank you. I've been instructed that there should be no more questions on this matter now. Just summing up's been done by Councillor Leyland. So that is an item which is for noting only. So we move on to the next item, which is the committee seats review. You can do it. Chief Executive is going to take this matter.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. If I just read this through to you, please. So this paper reviews the committee seat allocations to political groups in accordance with the Local Government and Housing Act 1989 and the Local Government Committees and Political Groups Regulations 1990. I received notice on the 21st of August 2025 that Councillor Colleen Dickinson had joined the Reform UK group. Councillor Dickinson had until that point been a member of the East Lindsey Independent Group. Further to this, a request for a review of committee seats was received. I received a further notification on the 22nd of September 2025 that Councillor Stephen Evans, in the Conservative group, had resigned as a district councillor for Chapel St Leonard's ward. And then further to the publication of the report and appendices, a notification was received and acknowledged that Councillor Rue Yarsley had joined the Conservative group from the East Lindsey Independent group. And you have appendices A and B, which have been updated to reflect all of those points. In addition to that, very recent confirmation is that the East Lindsey Independent Group vacancy on the Planning Committee should be filled by Councillor Cunnington, and the Conservative vacancy on Planning Policy Committee would be filled by Councillor Yarsley. The members are asked to consider and vote on those changes. Thank you.
Councillor Makerson-Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's a slight irony in this redistribution. In the elections in 2024, the independents did rather well. I think our electorate had faith in our integrity and hard work. People now jump ship without consulting their voters, who may not have wanted someone of a certain political persuasion representing them. So how is this properly representative? Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't really expect a reply. I just wanted to make a point.
I don't need a proposal for this and a seconder. Proposed councillor Leyland, seconded by councillor Marsh. So any questions now? Anybody? Yes.
What about the other two Conservative vacancies? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, those are not a function of the fact that people have changed groups, so that is a matter for myself as leader to sort out. Thank you.
Thank you. So it's been proposed and seconded, so we'll go to the vote. Those in favour of these, please. Any against? Any abstentions? One negative, Sanders. Our motion's carried. So we move on to item 14, motions on notice. There is none. So we go straight on to item 15, which is the draft minutes of the Audit and Governance Committee, which are to be noted and be introduced by Chair of Audit and Governance Committee.
Thank you, Chair. A couple of things that I want to note regarding these minutes. We had a discussion during the meeting about the budget plan and the budget planning. A reserved member state is planned so that all councillors can input and ask questions, and that's something that the committee felt was important. I want to draw your attention to page 103, where it mentions insufficient controls. Now, the insufficient controls on identifying and monitoring savings is unfortunately very bad. It means that none of the expected processes were in place in order to make the usual assessment. So it's even worse than getting no assurance on something. And this is something that the committee will be looking very seriously at and looking for an improvement in our processes from, because you know, it's quite rare for an insufficient controls assessment to be given. And you know, that's the main thing that I would like to highlight from that report. Is, you know, it's not good news, and it's something that the authority needs to sort out. Thank you.
Okay. So that item is for noting. Move on to item 16. To note the annual Audit and Governance Committee annual report following review by the Audit and Governance Committee. Councillor Jackson.
Thank you. Okay, I should talk you through this quickly. In the introduction, I speak about the catch-up work that we completed on audits and accounts and emerging governance issues and challenges from local governance reorganisation, and that is something that we continue to look at. Page 124, we talk about the details of membership, and I want you to note the attendance figures. We have struggled as a committee to achieve full attendance, and this is a governance issue, which I take very seriously. And I do expect substitutes to be sent when members can't attend. I think that's very important, and that is a matter of improvement for our council that's very important to emphasise. On page 125 and 126, you'll note the items and reports. This is a fuller list than usual due to the catch-up work. Page 127, you can see the work and the conclusions of internal audit. The limited assurances that we've had in 2 areas, and the work of external audit. And this has been a mixture between Mazars and KPMG. On page 128, you see how our work relates to governance, to risk management, to treasury and accounts, and that's just expanding on the work programme that you've seen on earlier pages. And page 129, as a highly technical committee, we undertake training and briefings on a regular basis, in addition to the annual compulsory training that we have for every member each year. And that's the report of the committee. Happy to take any questions.
Yes, Councillor.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chairman. And thank you, Chairman of Audit and Governance. It's been my 2nd year on audit and governance, and I have to say I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I think moving around the council and getting yourself an so-called expert in all different committees, having moved from overview to audit, has been enlightening to me. And I think one of the things we've also got, which we've been very lucky about, is 2 new co-opted members, and I think we ought to pay tribute to those 2 new members, Ian Silcox-Crowe and the other chap whose name, Chris Pilkington, who have managed 100% attendance right the way through. And I did ask for the attendance to be here without naming and shaming anyone, but I think it's really important, and it's more than can be said if you've got 100% from people who are just members of the public who turn up to our meetings, that we should be duty bound as councillors to slap on the wrist those councillors who fail to attend. It seems that some people feel that they're very satisfied with everything that we do, but we're there to challenge and cajole and try and improve things. It's a friendly meeting, and I would implore people who don't attend, who don't see the value in it, to attend in the next coming year. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Makers-Salvers.
Thank you. I wholeheartedly support those comments, and I'd like to thank Ros, because she's an extremely diligent chairman of this committee, and goes through paperwork like a Rottweiler. She's wonderful. So thank you, Ros.
Thank you for that. Right, so that item is Councillor Leyland and then Councillor Leonard.
Thank you, Chair. So I'm quite happy to go last if you want to go first. You're very kind. Yes, just picking up on the seriousness of audit and governance, and it was one of the things that were picked up by the peer review, that it was very rare that they found councils that had opposition members in full control of audit and governance and overview. And it was made, yes, I don't disagree with you, but it was noted that this was a significant benefit for this council. So I do want to thank Councillor Jackson for her work and colleagues on the committee. Your points made about attendance are noted, but I do also note that when you do pick up an issue, our officers and portfolio holder do work very hard to remedy the issues that we have had to deal with. And some of them were on a better place than we were. It's a journey, I do understand that, and certainly the executive board take the work of audit and governance very, very seriously, given that it is the sort of important cornerstone of understanding governance, and not the decisions, but certainly the process around the decisions that this council makes. So thank you for your work and diligence.
Councillor Leonard.
Thank you. It was mentioned a slight time ago about insufficient controls. I wondered if Councillor Jackson would like to elaborate on that and where she felt the danger zone might be in relation to insufficient controls. Thank you.
Yes, shall I respond?
Again, just to remind Councillor Leonard, we can't have a process where you're asking other members questions on the reports. It's just not how the constitution is written.
Sorry, do you want me to respond to that or not? I can write to you.
Okay. So as I said, that matter was for noting. We move on to item 17. Report the council decisions taken under the urgency provisions.
Thank you, Chair.
Yes,
the report's there for noting. It is what it is, Mr. Chairman. Sometimes it's required to do these decisions as they are, but the report is for noting. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, Councillor Jackson.
Thank you. I do have a question on this. What's the reason for delaying the insurance contracts until such time as they have to come in under urgency provisions? Something that came up in audit and governance in 24-25, insurance got a limited assurance rating. So it was clear that it needed improvement, and that was back in January that we were aware of that. And that was something that was flagged by internal audit. So it's quite curious that these contracts have been delayed until such time they have to come in under urgency. Thank you.
Councillor Bristow.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I'm just to kind of reassure, I was not surprised to see this, because so many insurance companies, even more so now than ever, are loath to give any kind of a quotation with more than 30 to 45 days. So it makes it nearly impossible to get an accurate quotation, let alone 3 if it's a competitive tender process with any amount of time to then have a meeting to determine it and so forth. So I'm glad to see that we continue to be insured. Thank you.
Thank you. So that recommendation is noted. I'll move on to item 18, questions. Councillor Horton isn't present. Do we not? Can't deal with those then, do we? No. So I'm straight on to 5. 4. Yeah, Councillor Horton is absent, so we'll move on to question 4. Still Mickelson Sanders. To Councillor
Right,
Adam.
who am I asking? Tom Kemp. He won't know the answer to this because I don't think he's really involved in it all. Please, will you get in touch with me and tell me exactly what the place team does? Because it says that this event was a great success. I'm not sure about that, but we could have saved £6,000 if we'd organised it properly and we'd run in properly and done it right. So we need to have. I need to know the cost benefit of all of this, because I don't know what the place team is actually doing, because surely when we ran these things through the Louth Town Partnership, we didn't have £6,000 worth of worry. So it's lucky that the council can put its hand in its pocket and do it. So anything and anybody that can inform me exactly what the place team do, because I've got no clue actually what they are actually achieving.
Okay. So we'll move on to question 5.
Oh, to Councillor Foster, yes. Well, I'm highly impressed by the number of people who are looking at the enhanced digital engagement, because they ain't walking around the markets. So we see all these wonderful things. We have, and you say in number 6, for the first time in several years, a market officer now attends every market. I think you should have said nearly every market. But it's amazing how they can tell councillors what's wrong with the markets, but they don't seem to be able to tell the markets officers. I've got a request from, and this isn't a sexist thing to say, but there are ladies who have stalls on the market who are height challenged, and they can't actually get the covers on their stalls. And somebody said, take along a pair of steps. Well, if you've ever tried to set up a market stall and take a pair of steps, it is not the easiest thing in the world to do, and they still can't quite reach. And one of them was in tears to me one day, and she's saying, what can I do? Why can't I have any help? Surely there is something we can do if we want to encourage traders, but we always seem to avoid all of those sort of questions. But I'm so glad that everybody's looking at it on the internet.
Thank you. Councillor Foster, you should respond.
Thanks for your question, Councillor Makinson Sanders. Yes, I mean there's a lot going on with the new markets initiative, and I hope you'll realise that there's a lot of good positive stuff in this report or response to your question. I've noted the fact, you know, with assistance with market setups, and I will feed that back to the markets officer. Obviously, we have our own guys there on the day, and you know, on the inclement days when things are blowing about and rain's lashing down on them, we'll try and give them some help if we can.
Councillor Makinson Sanders again, do you have a supplementary? No. Question 7, Councillor Simpson to Councillor Leyland. Do you have a supplementary? Oh, he's not there. Okay. 7. Question 8. And that was Councillor Simpson 2. Question 9. Councillor Edward Mossop to Councillor Kirk. Do you have a supplementary?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Kirk. The Colonnade building, great building. Really pleased to see it up. And I think, but there are 1 or 2 people who sort of are seeking reassurance about strategy on this in the future. I probably didn't realise that all of the floor space was, all of it was going to be outsourced to the market. I understood that the cafe was to be leased, but I understood that the cultural element was to be led by East Lindsey itself. So what exactly is the plan? There's a big space here, and how is this space going to be used to fulfil that ambition that we had when this was put in the bid? This, you know, this building was going to be the, and Sutton-on-Sea were going to be the cultural capital of ELDC.
Yeah, thank you for your supplementary question, Councillor Mossop. Do you mind if I respond to that in writing to you?
Yeah, I'd be very grateful to hear from.
I just don't want to share things that commercially I shouldn't be able to. So
fully understand that, but that would be great if you could.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Kirk. Question 10 then, Councillor Makinson Sanders to Councillor Leyland. Do you have a supplementary?
Well, actually, I ought to have sent this to Councillor Ashton because he's probably, yeah. Councillor Town. It says to Craig, but I think my heart, my faith is in Councillor Ashton to answer this question effectively. Sorry about that, birthday boy, sorry. I just can't speak. He's going to speak to me later about it, but I just want to put this forward from Louth because we are desperate. We are desperate because we don't have doctors, we don't have anything, and we're having more and more housing piled onto us. I'm afraid the government wants growth, but we can't take any more growth. We'll have it eventually when everything else is caught up. But if planning has got to be good planning, and I know you're in favour of it, and we still haven't sorted out the conservation area, and I don't know what you're going to be doing about that either, but that wasn't in the question, but perhaps you'd like to tell me the answer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Councillor Makinson Sanders. What I would say is the housing targets that the government has imposed on this council, representing a 150% uplift in the number of houses we are supposed to deliver as a council, represents an absolutely immense challenge to the planning landscape that we face. We believe those targets to be based on flawed methodology, and we are challenging that with MHCLG when we can get them to really focus on it and respond. I think we're a bit busy with a lot of other stuff right now. But we believe that methodology is flawed, but nonetheless, flawed or otherwise, those are the targets that we have been given, those are the targets that we have to work through. That is why there is what is called a presumption in favour of sustainable development in place at the moment. In effect, we've lost our 5-year forward supply, which means it is incredibly difficult to resist those edge of settlement or infill developments in medium and large settlements and towns. But there is no point us trying to write a new local plan or revise the local plan to meet those uprated housing numbers, because they are so far and away unsustainable. If there was the market demand for an 150% increase in housing in East Lindsey, we'd already be seeing sites building out at a rate that we certainly aren't. There is no point going through the process of spending £1 million plus, writing a plan, trying to convince you in this chamber, because I don't think I could convince you in this chamber, to add another 1,000 allocations onto Louth or 250, 300 in Sibsey, which is pretty much what these figures would represent, knowing full well that any spatial strategy that we bring forward based on those numbers would not meet the housing delivery test after perhaps 3 years, because simply the amount of houses that we would be asked to build couldn't be built and sold by the market. So that's where we are. That's why we are seeing now speculative applications coming forward. The one reassurance that I would provide to every community in East Lindsey is that the market isn't going to deliver any more houses in East Lindsey than that market demand already represents. We're not going to see, thousands and thousands and thousands of houses being built, because regardless of what the government tries to tell us, there isn't that market in East Lindsey, and there isn't going to be. So we will continue to fight your corner with MHCLG on those targets. We will continue to do the planning policy work, the evidence base for a local plan, and hopefully when we get some sensible numbers, we can have a practical conversation about spatial strategy and a revised plan.
Thank you. Question 11, Councillor Makinson Sanders to Councillor Leyland.
Well, I'm quite depressed by this answer. All services are empowered to consider how AI might work for their service. I'd like to see something a bit more positive than that. That's why I stood back when you persuaded me to stand down my motion that time, because there are so many applications and things like planning and perhaps environment and all sorts of things. I'm absolutely aware that we do use it in revenues and benefits, and good for us. It is a way of saving money that we can spend on other things that we really need to spend money on. So I think this council's dragging its heels a bit. So you're probably going to stick up. Rosie's shaking her head there. So you're probably going to stick up for the council, but I would like to see something more positive rather than the word consider. Have you got a better word, please?
Definitely consider. The thing is, Mr. Chairman, the question should be that we do consider this, because the reality is not everything is going to be suitable for AI, and we do the best that we can to fit the technology to what the potential service benefits are. So I think that the response is fair. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you. That's the end of the questions, and that is more or less the end of the meeting. So the date of the next meeting is, as we've said earlier, Wednesday, the 28th of January at 2 p.m. Thank you, councillors, for your